Welcome back to the Doug Stewart Show. Throwback Thursday. The number is 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. This is a Throwback Thursday, throwing it back to 1997, the year that we lost the great Notorious B.I.G. And also, man, talking about these sports, kind of the big stories today is Tony Romo. Set to be released by the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think it's actually happened yet. Let me take a look at the wire. But Romo going to be released. Some of the other free agent signings as well. And, we're getting into that. And then I want to get into a little bit of basketball here in a second. The number to the show is 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougstewartshow.com. Still trying to find one more name for my list of the blackest first names for a dude in history. We got Leroy, Jamal, Tyrone, and I just picked this up from the chat room, Andre. Yeah. Suffice to say, it ain't name one white guy in the world whose first name is Andre. Am I wrong about that? I don't think I'm wrong about that. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. I need one more name, and I lost the spot in the chat where we were talking about that. So if you got one that you know that I would have. Oh, somebody's got Darnell. See, but Darnell ain't that common. Darnell ain't that common. There's a gazillion Andres. There's a gazillion Leroys, albeit older cats. But there's a gazillion Leroys, there's a gazillion Jamals, there's a gazillion Tyrones. Tyrone was like the most popular name for a black little boy back in 1970 because I got so many Tyrones that I know. Dude, I grew up with my homeboy, Tyrone Ferguson. That's another black name, last name, Ferguson. Right. If your last name is Ferguson, there's a great chance. And there was a white guy named Joe Ferguson, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills back in the day. But Ferguson, for the most part, is a black people last name. So we need one more name for the top 5 black people first names of all times. Yeah. Hey, 2 quick little stories, man, concerning the NFL. First, Joe Mixon, man, yesterday had his pro day. He ran a 4.43 seconds in the 40-yard dash. Good for that young man. Good for that young man. 4.43 in the 40. Only running backs, North Carolina's T.J. Logan, who ran a 4.37. Utah's Joe Williams ran a 4.41. And North Carolina A&T's Tariq Cohen ran a 4.42. Had a better time. All 32 teams were represented at Mixon's workout. Praise his holy name. And here's this. And Vikings coach Mike Zimmer was there as well. So you know what that is. The Vikings are going to move on from Adrian Peterson, and maybe they bring in one controversial guy to take the place of another. Because Adrian Peterson, with the whole disciplining of his kids a couple of years ago, makes perfect sense. They bring in Joe Mixon, who numbers-wise had most of his tests, like the broad jump, the 40, the bench press, and all of that. I heard those cats say this morning on the Puppet Factory were all equal to or better than Ezekiel Elliott's from last year. Mixon rushed for 1,274 yards, gained another 538 yards receiving, so he's a good back out of the backfield, and he scored 16 touchdowns. Also, former Oklahoma wide receiver and 2016 Heisman finalist D.D. Westbrook also worked out for schools Wednesday. He chose not to run at the combine, but he delivered a 4.3440 for the personal workout for Oklahoma yesterday. And that would have been the 3rd fastest time at the combine among wide receivers. So shouts out to D.D. Westbrook and Joe Mixon, man. They did their thing yesterday. And one last story. and you're listening to the Doug Stewart Show. One last NFL story. Tyrod Taylor, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but Tyrod Taylor has restructured his deal to stay with the Buffalo Bills for the 2017-18 season. That's right. That's right. Now, this is something I was wrong on. I'll willingly admit that. It seemed like, based on the conversation, and you never can tell, but it seemed like that the Buffalo Bills were going to move on from Tyrod Taylor. But it really didn't make any sense. And at the end of the day, I guess cooler heads prevailed. So he is going to be the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. They restructured his deal to make it a little bit more cap-friendly. For the team and for the organization so they can go out there and get some more players. And it's actually the term of the deal goes down to technically 2. And so, but good thing. And the main thing I kept saying about Tyrod Taylor and why I would keep him if I were the Buffalo Bills, which I didn't think they were going to do. I thought they were going to move on. I thought they were going to draft another quarterback, or I thought even they may have given Cardale Jones an opportunity. The reason why is I thought they should have kept him, because maybe his numbers weren't, Joe Montana-ish or whatever. But you got to give that man a chance to continue to get better. He didn't do anything bad. They agreed to a restructured 5-year deal, one that drops his cap number from $16 million to $10 million, which means he will be the team starting quarterback this year. Tyrod Taylor threw for 3,023 yards with 17 touchdowns and 6 picks last season. He had one game where he threw like 3 picks. So one bad game, you throw out the best game, you throw out the worst game, man. His numbers weren't bad. They weren't great, but they weren't bad. He wasn't good on third down. He had a tough year on third down, completing 55% of his passes. Well, once again, when you're trying to scrap and scrape for a damn quarterback to start for your team in the NFL, Tyrod Taylor got a lot of upside still left in him. And so I'm glad that the Buffalo Bills are going to get this man another year. The fact that they redid this deal and he's still, going to make a ton of money, assessed that he's going to be the starting quarterback. So I'm happy for Tyrod Taylor. Yes, sir. Yeah. Let me look at these messages in the chat on Spreaker.com. I think we got the 5th spot for our top 5 black names ever. Rashad. There's a lot of Rashads. That's a very popular name. Rashad makes my list of top 5 all-time black dude names. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So my list, we just came up with this. This is what we do around here on the fly. So my list of top 5 black dude names of all time, I'm going to go ahead and even rank these. Number 1 is Leroy, or Leroy, some parts of town. Number 1 is Leroy. And number 2 is Tyrone. Number 3 is Jamal. Number 4 is Rashad. And coming in at number 5 is Andre. There you have it. Yeah. Bunch of Rashads. And I guess Rashad probably became prominent from Rashad, what's his name? Wide receiver Ahmad Rashad. And even though that was his last name, Ahmad Rashad, wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings back in the day, married to Claire Huxtable. That's probably one of the first prominent people with the name Rashad that you heard out in the streets probably back in the day, and he's older now. But the other names, Leroy, Tyrone, Jamal, and Andre. A ton of Andres. So those are your names. 404-382-0338. You can also email me at doug@thedougshow.com. In the chat room on Spreaker.com, the notorious Rough Buff. I knew a bunch of Rashads growing up. Yeah, Rashad's pretty popular. I know a lot of Rashads. Speaking of which, I spoke to my boy Chucktown Ron last night, he got a son named Rashad. From X Squad, kicking it with Kesey, laugh out loud, yep, easy. Don't know what he's talking about. From, let's see, from Grego X Squad, thank goodness they kept Tyrod, AFC East champions again. Be quiet, Grego. If you're new to the show, Grego is a resident New England Patriots fan. He's a contrarian in every sense of the word. And that's why his ass got nominated for a Ball Penis Award earlier today. From that ninja, Taylor had great numbers he has for the past 2 seasons. The year before, 20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. I agree. And he didn't have a lot of weapons that I can think of right now as far as on the offensive side of the ball, as far as big-name receivers or anything like that. From DC Cavaliers, they paid Tyrod like a black quarterback. They did do that. But he got a job. He's got a job, though. He's got a job. From DC Cavalier, he walked away from $30 million over to $7 million this year. That can go to $11 million. He gave money back. Who exactly are you talking about? Are you talking about Tyrod Taylor? From let's see, from the notorious rough buff X Squad, Tyrod was never going anywhere. 12 gauge ain't ready. Evidently not. And I like the fact, brothers need opportunities to be quarterback in the NFL. Cardale Jones, he can sit around and, watch the game a little bit more. They always talk about how the game slows down the more that you watch, and the years that you accumulate in the NFL. So, that's fine. Unless he was being replaced by someone else, I don't have a problem with Tyrod being the starter and Cardale Jones being the backup. From RC, he says Mixon would be a great fit in Minnesota.